All right, everybody. Welcome to the Evolving Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Bill Moss, and I'm with my co-host as usual.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Sean Carey.
And this episode is dropping on the first of the year. And as we wrapped up the last year and kind of transitioned into the new one, we just went through a season where one of the main focuses was celebration. And that's a lot of times celebration with each other, with friends, family. Also, if there's a reflection process, it's a good time to reflect on the personal wins, personal reasons to celebrate, professional. And we also, this is our first not complete year of doing the podcast, but at least like over 6 months, I think, since we released it. We've been working on it longer than that. So there's tons of reasons to celebrate. And the reason this episode is so important is, as individuals who work with as healers, people are on a spectrum when it involves healing. Some people are starting at the beginning of their journey. Some of them people are kind of riding high, if you will. But no matter where you are, there's always reasons to be grateful. There's reasons to celebrate. And we want to talk about how important celebration is on this episode.
Yeah, it's such a celebratory time of year, and it's so perfect that this will be released on New Year's Day. So we have a lot to celebrate. I think personally and professionally, we wanted to share that with you all too, and just kind of throw in the reminder of taking that time to celebrate. This is really the perfect time to plant those seeds, because with celebration, what you're really focusing on is the joy of life, like the passion of being alive, and then gratitude for everything that you have. So it's really good energies to start the year with. And
yes,
for me, I just turned 40 December 18th, so 2 weeks from before this was released. And it was really nice. I got to, we had a big cake in the office, and we sliced it up for all the patients that came in. They all got like a piece of to-go cake from the little bakery in town. And then I went out to dinner with friends, and we went to Fogo de Chão, which is like a Brazilian steakhouse where you just have tons of like skewers and skewers of meat.
Still recovering from that meal.
We had so much fun, and there was just so much joy. And then Christmas rolled around. And it's just like here we actually had a white Christmas. So I don't know if you guys got snow, but we got like 5 or 6 inches of snow. It's still white outside. Like it's just beautiful.
Wow.
In front of me, like behind my computer, is this the window looking out my front lawn, and it's gorgeous. Just snow covered everything.
That's awesome. No, we now mainly have rain. We did get a little bit of snow to cover the ground the day before, and it stuck around a little bit. Like the whole ground wasn't covered, but there was still some snow. And it's funny to hear my daughter talk about it, because she was like excited that we had some snow, but then it wasn't a lot of snow, and she's like, "Oh, well, it's not going to snow again." And we're like, "No, Christmas and winter are slightly different." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Christmas is the day, but we still have a lot of winter, so there's a lot of reasons to celebrate. So that sounds awesome. We rarely get a white Christmas around here. It's just still kind of mild in Pennsylvania until January hits. Then we usually turn the corner towards snow season for sure.
Yeah, it's really nice to have the white Christmas. Unfortunately, it was like I was supposed to fly out to London the night that we got the snowstorm. So I ended up missing my flight. I was on the runway for like 6 hours, and they couldn't reschedule my flight for days. But other than that, it's really nice to have the
Yeah, you get it. You awesome couple weeks of celebration, because I guess your birthday and Christmas and New Year's Day always fall on the same, basically 1 week apart. From each other.
It's really interesting too, because it's like one of the things that I do is Wicca, or like it's like shamanism, where you work with the cycle of the year and the moon cycles and the elements. And we had a big Yule celebration, a big solstice celebration, because it was also the winter solstice. So like, I got to help lead this celebration. I think we had 40 or 50 people in Waltham to do that. And it was really special to celebrate. Like that's a big celebration too. It's the longest night. So Yule was like in the past, it's been a major celebration. Just this time of year there is so much to celebrate.
Yeah, I love that, and you can feel it. Even like my daughter, through the eyes of a child, she she loves this time. Like she'll say, "Oh, I love my favorite time of year is Christmas time," and
Yeah.
my second favorite, her second favorite time is summer, right? Because
Yeah.
there's just activity, busyness, and you're outdoors. But there's something like a lot of fun about just people, especially kids that are sensitive. I think they see joy that comes from individuals and how we treat
Yeah.
each other and the magic of um, how people give and make this come together. I don't know if I talked about it in the last podcast, but we do an angel tree every year in our office. And we've been doing this ever since I opened. So this was actually the 11th year, and we always provide Christmas to families. And I think we've done almost 100 families at this point. Like it's
Wow.
some years we've done a bunch of them, and some we've done less. But I think it's at least over 80 families that we've served over the years, complete Christmas. And it's amazing to watch how people come together. So I think that joy emanates out too, and we all kind of feel it. And there's so many
Yeah.
reasons to celebrate. So I think the crossing over the year sometimes can be a little depressing when it's like, oh man, we just passed a year. Like it's like a death and
Yeah.
rebirth, kind of like we
Yeah.
talk about with initiation. But it's really important to celebrate what went well and the momentum that we have going into the next year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how, these things like the years build on each other, and it's part of a cycles. And there's many different
Yep.
traditions where they basically like evaluate the year and the energies and then what we're transitioning
Mhm.
into. So I know that we have Alex Cheho, who we did an episode with. She's an amazing astrologer. She's doing a
Yep.
big like beginning of the year reading about the energies to expect.
Yeah. I did it last year. I'm not going to be on it live this year when she does that. I think I'll probably get the replay afterwards because I don't know about you when you're going back to see clients, but I think that's the day.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I'm heading back on Monday the 30th. So we've
Mm,
had a week off, and it's been you have
okay.
as well, right? Which has been
Yeah, I
so nice.
worked the last day I saw chiropractic clients was the 23rd, and then I'll see some healing clients on the 30th, and that's pretty much the day. Then I'll go back on the 2nd though for chiropractic office hours, and then we kick it in. Yep,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we had I think my last day was the 19th, and then we just took
nice.
all last week off. So
That's good.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. It's very like healing to the mind, I think, and just big reset and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a
sleeping with
reason to
no alarm
celebrate.
clock. Yeah.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
if anybody who works in a healing profession is like, you have to like, well, anybody who works year round, we get used to that school cycle where you get this natural break built in, but you have to
Yeah.
build yourselves breaks, and you just can't drive all the time because I think I lose my creativity. I actually lose my drive when I don't have those. So I love this time of year because I usually feel like inspired by the time I
Yeah.
get back. Also, a little like you know, I would never, even if I could do whatever I wanted, I would never want to take off more than like 2 weeks at a time because I
Yeah.
just really enjoy working with people and I enjoy the rhythm of the work that I do. So when I always find when I take an extended period of time off, I'm kind of like chomping at the bit to like
Yeah.
have purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way too, and it was, maybe the past 3 years we've implemented doing, like, a week off during Christmas time, and I basically
Mhm.
block it off where it's like I don't do energy clients, I don't do chiropractic clients, I just, take that time's completely off, which I don't do at any other point in the year. At any other
Yeah.
point in the year, there's always some stuff going on. So, but
Mhm.
it was just, yeah, so amazing to just recharge my batteries, and then, get to
Mhm.
that point like you're talking about where it's just chomping at the bit again to go in and, see people and take care
Mhm.
of them and all the exciting stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna be good. Well, for you, I mean, this is a big year. You turned
yeah,
40.
yeah.
um, that is I remember that. Now I'm fully committed to the decade. I'm like a quarter of the way through, I guess you could say. And
That's
we're a
cool.
quarter of yeah, yeah. The other
Yeah,
funny thing that you mentioned that I feel like I've been having conversations with people surrounding, and this might be totally off topic, but the idea that we're hitting 2025 and it's like
yeah.
a quarter of the century. And uh, how many people can
Um,
remember the crossover of 2000? The world was going to end, and
yeah, like the
Y2K. And
computers
whenever
were yeah,
whenever I've mentioned this to a client, it's like, it's really hard to believe that we're hitting a whole quarter of a century
Yeah,
since then. Everyone's like, oh my God, do you remember that? Everybody was like getting their stuff ready. They thought their bank
yeah.
accounts were going to be like at zero. The computers were going to shut down, and nothing really happened. But a lot
No,
has happened since then.
yeah, it's really like the world has totally changed in 25 years. It's a
Yeah.
completely different world in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy. So
yeah,
anyway, there's lots of reasons for celebration. Talk about some of our personal ones because big and small, and we didn't like pre-plan this list of them, but we want to talk about just some of the personal um, growth that we've had, the professional growth, and then probably the easiest one to talk about for you and I is the podcast.
yeah,
Maybe we even start there because that's a team effort. Um,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
there's
we've
many reasons to celebrate.
totally. Yeah, the podcast is the first thing that came to mind for me too, where it was like we have 27 episodes done. Like you had done a
Mhm.
podcast before, and the Spiritual Initiated Parenting podcast, like if you, which
Yep.
had some amazing stuff. But this was my first time doing it, so we had this experience of creating it together, and we probably started, I think, in about February, where we actively started like
Mhm.
meeting pretty often to figure out the details. And it took us maybe
Yep.
like 3 months to have a buildup of recordings, because when we did the
Mhm.
launch, we wanted to release at least 3 episodes to have the logo worked out, the websites, like there was just a bunch of back end stuff.
I
Uh,
forgot about all that.
yeah, there was a lot that we did, and then we had to order out the equipment for the podcasts and the
Yeah.
subscriptions for the editing and for YouTube. But like there was just so many little back end pieces. Getting it squared
Mm.
away with a virtual assistant who helped us for the editing, and like it was a really cool process. And now we're at this point
Mhm.
where we've got 27 episodes, and we just logged in today. We also took time off the podcast as well for the past like week or two, and
Mhm.
with that, since the last time I checked, we had like another 200 downloads or something like that in the past
Mhm.
like week and a half. And
Yep.
December is our second highest month basically since we've released it, which is really cool because we took a break in recording. And as you can actually
Mm.
see the viewership going up and up and up, where there's so many
Yeah.
people that are like being like, "Oh, I love your podcast." I started listening to it. Like I really enjoy it. So that makes me feel really good.
Yeah, and I think some of the lessons well, I mean, there's a ton of lessons in starting a podcast, and I was having this discussion with my wife recently. Um, I think there was a gentleman, Jesse Eisler or Sittler, I forget his name. But anyway, he describes this concept of like picking one big thing that you do every year. And for me, I felt like the podcast was the big thing. That is like, if you put one thing on your calendar of like, I'm going to do one big thing this coming year, this is what it's going to be. The podcast was that. And we ran into a ton of adversity,
Yeah.
which you experience with almost anything that's worth doing. We
Right.
had to change the name because it was originally Beyond the Practice, and that is trademarked by a lawyer who owns who owned
Yeah.
it. We ended up having to, pivot in that regard, and then we ran into like some technical difficulties, but we did get it up and running and going. And one of my close friends, Dustin Shank, we even talked about having him on here as like how to heal
Yeah.
your marketing plan or your business because he works with so many people who do media as
Yeah.
a means to grow their brand and who they are, and he's just a fascinating guy. But I think the idea that I don't know what the percentage is, but only a small percentage of podcasts actually do more than 100 downloads per episode, and we're
Yeah.
slowly gaining traction to that number because of time and consistency. And I think most people fail at anything because they don't do it often enough or um, frequent enough, or they're not
Yeah.
disciplined and consistent. And for this, we have been, and we found seasons where we have more time and less time.
Yeah.
The winter is a good time to record, and actually before this, we planned out a lot for the next year. But the point is, like anything worth doing, we kind of celebrate the city and the consistency, and we have a lot of plans for what this show can do and who we can reach over the coming year. But somebody's healing journey is very much mirrored our podcast journey. And there's
Yeah.
times that it's more fun. There's times that you don't want to do it. There's times someone's sick. There are times where you're just in an amazing flow. So, all of it, when we reflect back, can be celebrated because it shows us how resilient we are. And yeah, so that's the big thing for this year. And it's really cool to see the episodes that people are into um,
Yeah.
over time. And the more personal we are and the kind of the deeper we go, it seems like the more we can connect with our audience. So we've learned that along the way too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been such a cool process. And I think one of the things that you and I did well with it is that one, we make a good team, like we work together really well. But then also we both had this idea and kind of like commitment to do at least 100 episodes with it. And it was like one of the
Mm,
things that we had learned, I think through Justin Shank, was that
yep.
most podcasts never make it to that point. And it's like really
Right.
that as you keep going, the people start to discover it more. There's more, they can kind of dig into it more and go back and like binge the old episodes. And it really just starts to gain a lot of traction after that point. So it's
Mhm,
nice to see that we actually like this is our 28th episode, which is a huge deal.
mhm. Yeah, it's allowed us to connect with our practice members and our clients
Mhm.
on a different level, right? I love sharing this
Yeah.
with my chiropractic clients and my healing clients because it gives us an opportunity to explore and just allow people to know who we are. Sometimes I dress up, sometimes I dress down on here. Sometimes the episode is more formal, sometimes it's less formal, and kind of a we are in this world. So it's really helped. There's some episodes that I think are core foundational that people can, re-reference as the meditation 101, the life activation one, the initiation one. Those are all like, and the chiropractic, like the deeper understanding of chiropractic. Those are the best ones to like, really understand some of the key aspects of what we do beyond the podcast to understand how we work with clients as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of the podcast where it's a chance for us to go much deeper with people than we
Mhm.
like normally have time to with a chiropractic visit or with a healing session. Because it's like we
Yep.
can go really deep with that, but it's also like, with this we get to talk to a lot of people at once. So it just
Mhm.
makes things possible that aren't possible when you're doing it one-on-one.
Yeah. The other thing I love is, though we both do it's similar work, we both are
Yeah.
chiropractors and spiritual guides and healers. Um, it's nice to hear it from a different person's perspective, right? Because
Right.
then it doesn't become just an authority, one person. It's like other people do this work as well. And I think that's always, I like working with people who've been to multiple chiropractors when
Yeah.
they are extracting like the pieces that they really enjoyed, had a good experience, and then we do it slightly different, but they can connect to those aspects of that we do, and it helps create a big foundation of understanding. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we're able to do together. So I think that's one of the biggest things to celebrate is just the unique depth that we can go by
Yeah.
being together. Yep. And kind of
Yeah.
to touch upon that, like if you're talking about what's a big thing we want to do next year is we want to start collaborating and doing some teaching together and some workshops together, events, because I think there's a lot to offer.
Yeah, that's something I'm really excited about too. And we even have a location picked out that we think would be really, really excellent to do it at.
Hmm.
We just need
Hmm.
to basically firm up dates and have the commitment from people who want to go and experience it. But there's so much that we can. There's obviously special magic that you can bring in person, and especially with the
Yep.
work that we do as far as the energetic training. Like one of the first things that we do before any class is you get the physical space correct and or not correct energetically, but you make it to a much more high frequency space. So you help to
Hmm.
bridge the physical and spiritual world in a specific ways. So it really creates a space where people can have powerful transformation and revelation, just from being in the room. And then
Yep.
being having that as a foundation, then being able to deliver the different content, whether it's we're doing like an Empower Thyself class or energetic healings or teaching for chiropractors, whatever we're going to kind of, or
Hmm.
teaching for the public. Like there's a lot of different avenues that we can work with. but it's just much easier to do from that in person with the correct energy.
Mm, nice. Um,
Yeah.
for you personally, what were some of the things like that you're celebrating coming out of this year and going into the next year? What were some? I mean, we've shared a lot during this show,
Yeah.
but big or small, what are some things that come to mind for yourself?
Well, there's two things that come to mind. The first is I lost like 25 pounds, which I'm happy with.
Whoa.
Like it feels like, really good. And it was really straightforward. Like I started eating right now, it's like I'm saying this like over the past year, like my diet hasn't been great over Christmas because it is,
Mm,
it's my birthday and Christmas, that type of thing. But I really,
celebration.
yeah. Yeah, and we've talked about like it's like you want to have those like those times of celebration, and you have a piece of cake and that type of thing. But it
Mhm.
was yeah, really cleaning up my diet, cooking a lot of food, a lot of going hiking, like and that type of thing with my dog. And it was just I think a very healthy way. Like it was just a process that I really enjoyed. So that was the first thing. And the next thing for me has been continuing with something called School of the Mage. It's one of the
Mm,
most, maybe it's the most advanced training in the mystery school. And it's like the mystery school path, there's many different initiations, and it's a process that takes years to go through. And there's a really intensive training associated with it. And essentially after you've received all the core initiations, I think that there are about like 6 of them. Then you can go to do this training school of mage, which is this incredible, intense, beyond word training that's like four years long, and where it has a really high failure rate. It's incredibly difficult, but it's also incredibly amazing. Oftentimes those things go hand in hand. It's like the harder something is, can be the more that you actually
yeah.
get from it. Then certainly the more transformation. And it's tested me in every which way I think I could be tested, and I'm still going. And but we're basically at the last class before
Mm,
graduation, assuming that we get invited to graduation. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm really happy with continuing that. What about for you? What's your biggest celebrations?
I feel like it's a little less tangible, but well, I mean, I did complete my third step, ritual master initiation, which was a huge deal
Yeah,
within and it's brought many gifts, and it's been an amazing year. I feel like one of the reasons this year was so good is I feel like I am starting to finally live in accordance to the rhythm of the year and
yeah,
how I experience each season, and I feel like I know when to push and when not to. So I feel like
yeah,
there's been, and because of that, I think I found more joy. Like I exercise more during certain times of year. I meditate more during certain times of year. But I feel like
yeah,
I'm fulfilling the needs that I have, or the things that I need during that year's time based on the cycle of the year. And I feel like I'm living in a accordance to my rhythm with
yeah,
the rhythm of the universe, which is just allow me to be healthier. Last winter, I think when we started this podcast, I had a lot of health challenges, not from like I had a disease or anything, but I just had a hard time staying well and having energy. And I think it was a little bit of a signal of I needed to, you know, focus on my internal rhythm of when to
yeah,
push and when not to. And coming out of March last year, I started to take that more serious. And going into this winter, I had a 24-hour flu like a couple weeks ago, but I got over it super fast. It was one day of kind of hell. And then, but
yeah,
besides that, I've just really been giving myself rest at the holidays when I need to, not overbooking myself, putting in the intense amount of exercise when I should, and then backing off when I need
yeah,
to. And that for me is just feels like a big win because it's sustainable for other years, and
yeah,
then I can get the most out of myself. So, I was starting to even last winter lose some joy in doing the things I really enjoy, even like the additional training and going to programs and
yeah,
learning and implementing some new things. So that was a really big personal win where I feel like, and it's a reflection. My family, I
yeah,
can work my family life better when you use the right energy at the right time, the efficiency in your life just can change. And I feel like that's what's happened for me this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a it's such a huge thing to be able to live in that state of, like, harmony with the world
Yeah.
around you, knowing yourself so that you actually know what it is that you need to support yourself, and,
Yep.
like, that's been a struggle for me too as far as, it's also something that's gotten much better, but, like, those moments where you're out of balance and you're just,
Hmm.
you're not giving yourself exactly what you need, or you're in the wrong rhythm, like one of the
Hmm.
things we talked about too is this time of year, just kind of learning to relax at this time of year, like during over Christmas, and then it's like you
Yeah.
kind of save up your energy and then you push at the beginning
Hmm.
of the year, and
Yep.
it's just an approach that works so much better for me. And I was actually thinking, like, as you were talking too, I don't think I've been actually sick since like May. I was sick. I had the
Mm.
flu or something like there, or something like that in May. Uh, but yeah, like 7 months without being sick. I think it's a good
Mhm.
marker of being more in alignment with my, with what my physical body needs.
Yeah.
So my,
Yeah,
my
it's
immune
so
system
big, and
healthier.
you know, I think the last 4 years we've talked about this to some degree have been challenging on people. So,
Yeah,
I think it's forced us to, like, listen and observe, and I feel like this year's been a win because there have still been these sick cycles, and my daughter's been sick and my wife's been, but,
yeah,
like, I've seemed to maintain it through all this, where last year I was just getting kicked
yeah,
with whatever someone else got. I was like, "Well, just give me some of it and I'll take it too," you know? Where this year I feel like I've doubled down on some supplementation, some
yeah,
recognition of my own energy, when to get up early, when to sleep, just all that stuff, and some of those little things, I I don't feel like that different in my 40s,
yeah,
but I feel like the stakes are higher. I mean, in the
yes,
last 2 years especially, it's like, God, I don't even know, dude, when we were in our 20s, we'd, like, stay out all night, drink way too
yeah,
much. I was a
yeah,
runner. We'd wake up and on a Sunday do, like, 15 miles and, like, study, and everything was cool.
yeah,
It's like the level of care that I require now is so high
right, right, right.
to main to maintain the efficiency in life. So I feel like the stakes are just higher, but not in a stressful way, just in a way that I need to honor them.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I feel
and,
like I'm
and
finally getting that.
I absolutely love that. I think that's so key to be able to, like, if you're somebody where you want to live a great life, like, it's going to require managing a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's like you need your body. It really comes from the body. Like, one of the things we
Mm.
talk about in some different trainings is how important chi is, or life force energy.
Yeah,
And
totally.
from that, it's like kind of everything else flows. And yeah, if you don't have that going properly through your system, all these different things that you're trying to work on just kind of collapse. There's no oomph
Hun
behind them. There's no life force behind them,
Yeah,
which is what we
yeah.
need to anchor things physically.
It's so good. Yep, it's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, from a professional, the second aspect, I guess you could say the third, because we already kind of
Yeah.
accomplished the podcast. But from a professional perspective, from the work that you do, what's been reason for celebration this year for you?
I think professionally, like, this is maybe like maybe the first time in my career where I felt a certain level of mastery. Like, as far as, like,
Mm,
I've been either teaching or working with clients. It's like, oh, that was like, there's just a much different level of proficiency than I ever had before. Not that I was a poor practitioner, like, or anything like that before, but was like, I've just been more grateful for the different trainings and things that I've done to, I think, get to this point
mm,
and help some really complicated cases. And also, like, I'm shifting my work schedule, my chiropractic work schedule, to being open 3 days per week. They're
mm.
really long days when we do it that way, because it's like you tend to see
Yep.
people before work, and then people after work are the two main chunks of time, and then of course in between. But I think it's going to lead to me having much more balance, which I'm really excited about.
Mhm.
One thing that
Mhm.
I'm feeling since being in my 40s now too, is just kind of my own self reflection, is that, like you were saying, I need to have much more balance. It's easier, like, it's not going to be as forgiving if I'm off track. So I
Yep.
think that having that basically extra day to be able to see energy clients, to be able to focus on working out, to be able to sleep in without an alarm clock, and those things is going to be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find most people think that when you make moves like you're describing, that it's like a contraction, but it doesn't
Yeah,
usually work that way, right? You know,
yeah,
when I first opened my practice, I built my schedule around also what I needed to the time I needed to be in the community, and people were like, "Oh,
uh-huh,
why you only work those hours?" It's like, well,
yeah,
you need all this other time, and when you take care of people, I think if the thing a healer didn't explore going into next year is creating some space and some time so you can
yeah,
like have the energy to continue to do the work. And people don't understand that. They think like, oh, if you take a day off or don't have a day that you're seeing clients, like you're not preparing to see clients. And it's like there's a
right,
lot of preparation, internal
yeah,
preparation to manage people month after month, day after day, and year after year, right? Like when you look at a decade's time, like even just the sheer fact that you're still doing chiropractic is like, I don't think it's every chiropractor wants to, our profession has a lot of, I don't want to call it problems. We have a lot of opinions
yeah,
of why people maybe add different procedures or do or change, right? Or get into marketing and get out of practice. And like, I think one of the factors that people forget is it's like really hard to work with people year after year and to the
yeah,
level that we do in their stuff. And I've seen so many chiropractors late in their life end up sick and distraught because they didn't um, create the schedule that worked best for them early on in their development. So
yeah,
I think what you're talking about is so vitally important because the environment that we see people in matters so much.
yeah. And like we can only give from what we have, and if you have an empty cup, like meaning that you're just you're not taking care of yourself, or
Mhm,
whatever, you're too tired or you're too stressed, like you can only share that.
mhm.
So we do
Yep.
have to really block out those times to really like take care of ourselves. And the more you have going on, I think the more complex like the your own support needs to be. Like,
Yep.
because like we have this going on, which I'm really excited about. We have the podcast, we have our work as spiritual guides, we have our the chiropractic work, and then you're a dad. Like I have different things that
Mm,
I do as far as helping support the mystery school community and different projects that
yep.
I'm working on. Like there's just a lot. So it's like our support really needs to be dialed in, because otherwise the whole
Yeah.
thing collapses.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%.
And so what for you has been your biggest personal, success for the year?
Mm, or professional.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Biggest professional.
um, yeah. So at the end of last year, that was the last time I hired an employee. It was like they basically started after Thanksgiving, and I've had the exact same team for the entire 2024 that I started. So I think one of the I'm looking like we added a kind of a neuropathy program within the practice, which has been really rewarding for many different reasons. But the biggest and most exciting part of everything that's allowed me to grow, and I think will have even compound interest this year, is the people that I surround myself with. Like my employees are awesome. This is the first time, um, I just have every role kind of covered, and
Yeah,
I'm not a micromanager anyway. So if I have the wrong person in the wrong seat, it's going to be a matter of like like until I just can't tolerate it, I'll do something about it. But
yeah,
now I really have to micromanage anybody, and they also bring a lot to the table. So, and
yeah,
quite frankly, I'm just like friends with it. They all are just good people and have great families. Like we just did our speaking of celebrations, last 2 Saturdays ago. What is today? Saturday. So a week ago,
mm,
that's when we recorded this. We had our team celebration at our home this year, and everyone's family came, their husbands, spouses, kids, and it was just a fun time. Like Lauren put together games and gingerbread houses, and it was like it's my work party, but it's the people I like spending time with anyway,
yeah,
across the board. And they're all kind of invested in the center beyond just the chiropractic office. So it makes my work a lot of fun. And I can see already I feel like I can dream again. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like part of being
yeah,
a leader, visionary is making sure everybody else is or part of being a manager is making sure everybody else is going in the right direction. But because they are, I feel like I'm in this like dream mode again. Like how can
Yeah.
I bring my best work into the equation and beyond because I'm supported there. And that support has come from my family too. Like my wife is, I feel like the more I become myself is always a direct response to she's more comfortable with me. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes people fear development and progression because we get into relationships often with the other person and expecting us to stay the same. And it's
Right.
funny to see, like, I have the inverse where the more I become myself, the greater it is for her to be comfortable with me, which is very different and
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Mm,
And so much more aligned, right? Because it's like really from
mm,
that divine perspective, like we're not here just to stay the same. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to grow. And as humans, we don't want to leave our comfort zones. Like it's you have something that's like you're comfortable in,
mhm.
and people will just stay there for forever. Like
Yeah.
screw growth and progression. They just hang out in their comfort zone sometimes for their entire lives. And when you have somebody where that's you're in a relationship and that's uncomfortable to just stay in that comfort zone, and they want to grow and shift with you,
Mm.
that is really like so healthy.
Well, it's funny you used the word align, and that was actually the word my team likes to choose a word every year, and an individual word and a team word. And last year my word was align. That was the word like that I kind of, used to anchor in my 2024, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've ever done that or if you have a word for next year, um, or a focus. I
Uh,
guess the word would be like focus.
yeah. No, I don't. I've never done that. I think it's a cool
Yeah,
concept.
it is a cool
Yeah.
concept. You know what my team's is? My team came up with a word the other day. Like, and well,
What's
I
that?
kind of helped extract it for him, but the word is share. So
Cool.
a lot of times, but what I loved about share is, I think sometimes people are in the health profession, or I don't want to
Yeah.
call it healthcare, healing profession. They struggle with they talk we talk sales and all this, but the reality is, like, why do people refer? A referral is a share, right? It's a
Yeah.
sharing of experience, it's a sharing of knowledge. Making aware is share, and it's a much healthier word that carries this very like helpful kind of context to it. And
Yeah.
that's the word that we have decided because you know, you have 2 practices, essentially, I have 2 practices, and not everyone's aware of it, but when we feel in our heart to share
Right.
something that could be helpful, it's a much different relationship if we're having a workshop, if we're having a meditation, if we're having so we
Yeah.
made that our word for next year because, if it's been helpful to us, that's what we tend to wanna do is to share it with
Yeah.
others. So, because I have that really good team, who buys into what we do and has seen it for themselves through their fruits and experience, we're coming together to share what we have to offer for next year. So I thought that was awesome that they kind of extracted that from what we're trying to do.
Oh, I totally love it. I think that's a perfect word. I think if I was going to choose a word for this next year, for me, it would be, and for like the different office and practice, it
Mm,
would be like
mm.
mission. And I
Oh, cool.
really feel like this is I'm much more anchored to like my overall mission in life in a way that
That's
it's
nice.
just like the probably most refined it's been. And
That's
it's
cool.
yeah, such a source of I don't know, like determination, like of like
Mm,
grit, like you're anchored to the
yeah,
mission. It sounds like your team really shares that too. It's like you have this shared mission of what you're doing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's such a wellspring of like because anything you do in life that's worth doing, there's going to be obstacles and there's going to be things that get in the way. And I think
yeah.
we've talked on this podcast about how sometimes people hope that things just there's this new age concept that things are just going to happen perfectly
Mm,
and without like having to do any work or overcome big obstacles and that
yeah.
type of thing. And I think generally the more aligned something is, oftentimes the
Mm,
harder the obstacles. So when you have
yeah,
that mission of you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what feels right in my heart. This is what feels good in my soul. And we're going in this direction. You have the strength to overcome whatever obstacles come up. And it's
yeah.
also like where you have the most, the most sort of support, the most synchronicity, these things. come into your life that just can really up level everything.
I love it. That's really good. No, I mean, even you gave me some ideas to like work with this word for the year. Like,
Cool.
because I don't like it to be this idea of you create this thing and then you put it on the shelf. And I think that's the
Right.
biggest challenge with it here is we have these, kind of one of my words is like that this might be my personal word is aspiration. And
Yeah.
we talk about that versus goals, and goals are very much an ends to a mean, but aspirations can go beyond that. And I've
Yeah.
been wrestling with that word, and I really like. But one of the challenges of a new year is we have this direction that we want to go, but it's very easy to just like make it a thing that you talked about for in the beginning and then didn't interweave it throughout. And I do think things get accomplished by just setting the tone, right? If we
Right.
didn't really come back to this concept the rest of the year, I think it would still unfold to some degree, but it always works better when it's intertwined. And I love what you said, not just sharing what we have to offer, but like really kind of bringing that mission forward, like the shared
Yeah.
mission of my practice and what we do. So that was really, really helpful to go beyond. It kind of makes me feel even more excited about what's to
Yeah.
come for next year
Yeah. And I
or
mean,
this
the
year.
world, the world needs that energy, like that energy of like
Yeah.
being on a mission. Like it brings us forward this incredible like clarity and direction, I think.
Hmm.
That I think is just like it's so helpful to people because it's we all need that like compass in life as far as
Hmm.
like where's your true north, where is it going, and this time of year I think is the perfect time of year to just get centered on your compass, like where's true north for you.
Yeah.
And for me, like I describe that
Well,
as kind of like mission, but maybe somebody
yeah.
else would use a different word.
Yeah.
But like the more aligned that is, the more centered you are with that, I think things can just work out so much better.
Yeah. That could be like our combination for
Yeah,
the year, shared mission, for the
yeah. Oh, I
podcast,
love
to
that.
share our mission. 'Cause at the root of it, we want people to, at the end of the day, to be reminded that they can heal, and no matter where they are, there's things you can do wherever you are. And the first one is to celebrate um, where you've come from and where you're going, and to
Yeah,
just to celebrate. It gets you in a state of healing, and then along that way, we want to teach people that they're much more capable to be greater than they've ever believed they could. And that's what all
yeah,
the tools do. They remind people how great they are. And that's what we want this podcast to do. At the root of it is to help healers and people seeking healing to continue to experience that. And just to remember it, because it's hard to walk
yeah.
around uh, and remember that all the time.
Totally. Yeah, and one of the things I'm really excited about too with this year is that we had kind of like a planning meeting before this, before we
Hmm.
started recording the episode, and we were like talking about kind of what we want to do as far as some of the different episodes, who we want to bring on for guests, and the guests we
Hmm.
have are awesome. Like the guests that we're going to
Yeah.
be bringing on this next year, we have some
Yeah.
huge guests that are going to be coming on the podcast. We're also going to have a virtual assistant start doing some of the social media posting for us because that's an area that
Yeah.
we've just dropped the ball with because we both have so much on our plate. So
Yeah.
we
Because I
need to,
love social media.
yeah. Like, neither one of us are that big on social media, and
Yeah.
it's like maybe I share like a Facebook post or Instagram post or story like every couple weeks, but it's just like not really enough for what the podcast
Yeah.
needs because we have so much great content and so much great clips, and every
Yeah.
episode is actually broken down into these different clips, but we just haven't really distributed them as well. So we're going to have
Yeah.
somebody helping us out with that, which I think will really help grow the audience and expose us to more people, which will help us bring on more guests and do better events. And it's like as we up level
So
with it,
good.
it just brings on more potential. We can build out our
Yeah.
studio a little bit and that type of thing. So it'll be really
Yeah, I
fun.
got plants in my background now. The plants really spruce it up. That
Yeah.
shows growth. They're still a Christmas bag, but yeah, I mean, we'll continue to spruce it up. I mean, the one thing you can guarantee from us is we're going to continue to try to do things better, unique, and more
Yeah.
amazing as we go. So we're excited to just continue to evolve. 2025 is going to be amazing. we'll keep you posted as it all unfolds. And I'm sure you'll know about it with us and do it with us. And there will be some opportunities to get together as a group and grow. So we're really grateful for 2024 and everything it brought, and how much it taught us. And we look forward to just continuing to grow with the podcast. And thank you so much for being with us. And our word is share. So don't be part of our word is share. Don't be, if you enjoy this show, share it with somebody that you feel could benefit. Share the episode that you feel would be helpful. That's part of the reason for having this podcast. And we look forward to the growth that we can share together in the coming year.
Yeah. And also on that note too, please, like and review and those things, and subscribe, and also share with us what you'd like.
Yeah.
Like what are you are the guests that you think would be really good to be interviewed on podcasts? It could be yourself.
Yeah.
Is there things
Yeah.
that you'd like to hear us talk about? Or like, there's so much. I don't want to say one of the challenges we have. It's like we both have different multiple expertises. So there's always a
Mhm.
lot that we can talk about, and we can bounce around back and forth. But it's also, we aren't doing this just to hear ourselves talk. We're doing it because we want to benefit other people. So if there's certain things that you're struggling with, is there certain things that, maybe it's like something in business, maybe it's a stuck point in your healing, share it with us. It can be, private. And then we can, that can open up the door for more conversation.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks again for being here. And we look forward to seeing you each and every week in the coming year.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.